Because like a lot of other stories, we're talking about a very interesting time of history,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about the Civil War, you're talking about the Confederacy, you're talking about, how the Civil War ended because that was a big, huge time in American history.
Right. Right.
Okay. So, of course, that type of thing, in my opinion, was kind of, swept under the rug. But, you know, this type of story, in my opinion, was one of the most unique stories. And I just wondered why this was never told. From my perspective, I had no idea this even existed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Until recently. So I'm thinking maybe because of the time that it was made in, I'm thinking maybe it's because, you know, I don't know if it was a unique,
Mm-hmm.
that appealed to a certain type of audience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't very receptive, is what I'm gathering, because I never even knew anything about it.
Yeah. I had never seen any like media about it, any references to it,
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. And I mean, and it's funny. It seems like to me, even when they did the most modern telling with the Nicolas Cage films, they could have just as easily referenced Caleb as they did the other Ghost Rider, right? Sam Neill, or is that the guy's name? Sam Elliott in the film. He could have just been. So what I liked about the series, and this is a 6-book series, so it's a good read. It's got a little bit of length to it, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, this is a movie. Like, man, I saw it and I thought about it. If you were gonna do another Ghost Rider story, man, this is made for the screen, right? I mean, especially like it reminded me of the gritty kind of look you got with Sin City. Where it's got
Mm-hmm.
that grind. The artwork is brilliant. And if they could capture that style, it's made for the screen because it's a great story. So me and you have kind of committed ourselves to talking about black heroes and like a certain standard for their character. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that was the thing that we both commonly saw in Caleb. This was a brother who had suffered under the evil that was slavery, right? Chattel slavery, bought his freedom, bought his wife's freedom, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Was down, right? He was like morally an extremely high moral person. That's the first thing that you're going to see with this brother. Family man, he's got his wife, got his 2 kids. So are you kind of getting that same vibe from him in terms of like the morality?
Well, that's the streamline of who have we talked about a lot.
Yeah, Montu, yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
See, it's that integrity,
yeah,
the ethics,
yeah,
the morality,
yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
That seems to be something that's been ingrained. We're talking about, um, African ethics, right? We're
Right.
talking about how we are to act and to behave, right?
Yeah.
So him growing up in
Mm-hmm.
slavery, right, is clearly he learned a lot about what it means to be ethical,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that was one of those things that was really drawn to me about that. That's another Memnon type of attitude, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and that's another Ma'at type of attitude. So again, this is what draws me to that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, exactly. I was as well.
yeah, and so with him and his wife and his 2 sons, he was just trying to, in my opinion, just do the right thing.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay, that was just his lifestyle, and during that period, that was a very interesting period because, of course, technology wasn't even developed back then, right? So everything was just right by the sweat of your brow type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, most
Okay,
definitely.
yeah, hard work if you
Hard
want to
work.
call it.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
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 So he was put into that thing where he just puts it to grind, and so that's a respect because I know that just looking at him, you can tell that's a hard working brother.
Yeah, this is a hard working brother. Hey, shout out to King Bay Boy, who's back here watching us. So as I got into opened up the story, like I talked a little bit about his past. So obviously being in the Civil War, he comes into contact with some soldiers. And in this particular instance, a Confederate soldier who's wounded, and Caleb, without hesitation, saves this man's life, brings him
Correct.
back to his own home,
Correct.
starts nursing him back to health.
Correct.
Checked him over some ill-advised language, right? You're not going to, I understand who you are, what your culture is. You're not going to talk to me like, that kind of thing. And still let him know. So, like, instantly we see that strength, right? Strength of character. You will not talk to me in this fashion. But he was calm. He was in control of his emotion. He was compassionate. Not only was he a good father, husband, hard worker, right? He was also able to have compassion for someone who, even the words of this Confederate soldier said, I'm your enemy. He was shocked by it.
Right. That says a lot about character, right?
Yes.
That says a lot about that.
Yeah.
And this is right during the time of the Civil War. It was in the height of that. So anybody that you would know, to me, we just fought you, right?
Yeah.
And so I would be, that would be a natural thought, right? Because, of course, we talked about the history of the Trojan War, where, of course, when you're just fighting somebody, to everybody, you're not a friend of mine, you're an enemy of mine.
Yeah, you're my
right?
enemy. Yeah.
Right. But he has his thought, his heart thing with him, all right? And remember what I said earlier? He just does the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And that's what I like about Caleb. He's just a dude, and that just, his ethics are really high. So absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so as a character, and we've kind of talked about this, that same mold of the Montu, the Memnon type of character of like righteous, like strength, but also righteousness and emotional control. That's something that like you tend to see that out of black heroes a lot. I mean, that's kind of the when we have heroes of melanin skin, they tend to be of that moral fiber, despite whatever. And that's something to me is very symbolic of what our grandpops dealt with, our uncles dealt with, like doing the right thing, like our aunts and uncles who went to war, trying to show, hey, let's fix this situation, but always like their morals and their values being up front. And we don't see enough of that in character. So that's a refreshing look at how this character comes across.